Okay, hey everyone, this is Spencer. I just thought I would start with showing what we have planted this year. This is more for myself than anybody else, so I apologize if it's not very good. Um, anyway, so this is stuff that we planted this past year. This is our new home here. Let me see. There's our new home. And I thought I'd show what we planted. We moved from the house next door, which is over there. That was where we lived. You can see some of the plantings there. Let me see if I can zoom in. There's our Gold Rush Dawn Redwoods starting to leaf out. A few other things. So now we're at the new property. We're not sure what to do about that yellow wire on the left there. We'll see. So anyway, so these are SkyTower Ginkgos. Supposedly they get to be about 20-25 feet tall. And they should have maybe a branching that should be about as wide as they get, is about 3 feet is what I've heard. So we'll see how these actually go. We may have to prune them as they grow. Last year we got them and had them in grow bags for most of the year. And last year they didn't have any new growth. This year there is actually at least a little bit of new growth already starting. So that's at least a little bit exciting. It's better than last year when they were in the grow bags. When they were in the grow bags, I think we were watering every 3 days or so. And that seemed to keep them happy. It was, I think it was what, 2 or 3 days, somewhere around there. I mean, there are definitely growth coming out that way. This one's not really growing much yet. All right, so then we go over here. These are Twombly's Red Sentinels. There's not really much more to say about them. They're Broom or something like that. They seem to be putting on a lot of growth. We are, by the way, below. Here, I'll try to pan up if I can. I'm trying to go slow so it's not too much. So above us is a dogwood that is putting down petals on everything. So when you see little white petals, that's where they're coming from. Anyway, this is the new growth here. So I would say it's a little bit more than a foot right now of new growth in the Twombly's Red Sentinel. This was the first part this is one of our first trees to leaf out. And this is the first new growth spurt. It looks like it's not quite done yet. It's still growing a little bit. Keeping on going. This is Skeeter's Broom. Skeeter's Broom is a lighter red color compared to the darker of the Twombly's. Let me see if I can get them in the same shot without my shadow being in the way. It's a little bit hard to tell. But the Twombly's, I would say, is a darker maroon color. And the Skeeter's Broom is a lighter kind of reddish pink color. But keep in mind, I'm colorblind, so trust your eyes more than what I'm saying. So this is Skeeter's Broom. The idea here, we had the two Twombly's relatively close to each other. Those are no more than 3 feet apart, hoping that they combine together to make kind of a larger space. Whereas then we have a good 6 foot spacing between whatever that Skeeter's Broom and the Twombly's Red. There's another Skeeter's Broom to the right. Camellia over there. This little thing here, you'll see this with a few camellias. I should just point this out. Camellia growers specifically told us to do this. One of the growers that really knows his stuff down in South Georgia told us this is what he does when he's afraid of root competition. He leaves that ring in there that's aluminum, and he leaves that ring in there for 2 years. I wouldn't do this for Japanese maples, but this is specifically what he said to do for camellias, because we've had issues with root competition and them dying. So this one here, this is a Pixie. Pretty small right now. Should get bigger. Pixie usually likes to grow for us. And let's see here, I'll keep on going. These are butterflies. 3 butterfly Japanese maples. They're about 5 feet tall or so. We got them last year when Anna accidentally fell at a nursery and they felt bad and basically gave us these trees. We weren't gonna say much. It was really our fault, but anyway, they seem to do well. Right now we have them directly under a little bit of overhead shade there, and then up higher you can see even higher shade. So we've really been working on this yard. Eventually that goal post will go to the basketball goal. But we've been really taking out the shade, so we have really high shade here for everything. So these guys should only get about 1 to 2 hours, most likely 1 hour of direct sun during the summer. Right now they're getting about 3 to 4 hours, probably somewhere around there. It goes on and off for them. Let's see, I'll go through them and keep on going. So we have camellias all the way along. They're going to be kind of hard to see, especially in a video format. This is just a seedling. We have several seedlings that we got for like $5 a piece. So we just have them. This is the Geisha Gone Wild. There was a discussion today about it. This is ours. It has grown literally not 1 inch since we bought it and has had dieback every year. So here, we'll go close and let y'all see it. So this year it's not as pink as it's been in other years, but we did just, again, we planted everything this February, so that probably had something to do with it. And right now we don't have direct sun. Let me see if I can go up here and show. That's probably out of focus, but. So this is this one. It's very vase-shaped. Kind of hard to see if you're not looking for it. Even to your own eyes, it's kind of hard, not just on a video. And we can look at the dieback here just to show. So we have a few, it's still leafing out a little bit. Up top, it's just leafing out up there, but we have just a little bit of dieback. A little bit more dieback right here. And that's already good enough to come off. All right, keep it on going. This one right here in the sun is a summer gold. So this summer gold is gonna not have that much sun. This one hasn't ever grown that much for us. Let me see, I'll try to get up above it here. So this summer gold has never really grown much for us. Our others tend to do really well. This one is kind of similar to the other one and coincidentally came from the same grower as the other one. You can see now both in the same shot. This one had maybe 3 inches of growth a year. It's really not a big grower. It came about this size. Maybe it's grown a little bit, but it really hasn't done much. And you can see here, like it's probably gonna have a little bit of dieback here. And it tends to just do this every year. It's just a little bit more and a little bit more dieback. The camera is showing it a little bit more orange yellow than it is to my eyes when I'm looking at both. But that's okay. And it always, summer gold seems to always have a lot of flowers. Sometimes makes a lot of seeds. So I'll keep on going. There's another seedling back here. This one is very oddly shaped, but that's okay. We're just using it to block neighbors in the background. In fact, this is seedling alley here with multiple seedlings. Here's another seedling. And again, we got all these for, I think 5, maybe these bigger ones were $10. But we try to get things inexpensively. This is another seedling here. Okay, so let's see here. Where were we? So this is to give a reference. We are doing a little bit of spring cleaning, by the way. Reorganizing the garage while we're stuck at home before we start other projects. So there's summer gold, and to our right is the Geisha Gone Wild. Then we have seedlings, and I'm just going to turn around, try to go relatively slowly. And now we're kind of back on our main path. So over here is a, oh no, I've forgotten what this one is. This is a Hubb's Red Willow. Hubb's Red Willow, it's only just leafed out. It's got about, like it's pushed out about 6 inches here. And then Scolopendrifolium, not Koto no Ito. This is a different one. It's got a little bit of new growth there. I'm not too concerned about this right now, though it looks like old growth, so maybe I should be. Anyway, this is Scolopendrifolium. Both of these just recently started leafing out. They were pretty late to leaf out in general. We have the red next to the green, so it should make a nice fun comparison when they're older. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. I can kind of show the difference. Okay, moving on. This is a lot. It's gonna be a very long video. I'm sorry, again, making it for myself, but that's okay. So these are 2 failed grafts. We were just trying to do grafting this year, and both of these had aphids on them. I mean, it has pretty neat leaves on its own as a seedling. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Maybe I can't. I don't think it's gonna focus for me. Anyway, really different looking leaves on this one. Just kind of trying. There we go. But it's just a seedling. Back here, this is the Sango Kaku air layer. It's growing really well. The root ball was quite impressive when we tried to plant it. It has a little bit of dieback, but really not much overall. It still doesn't have any leaves on one of these, but the branch looks good. This one here. And that was new growth last year. So I'll just give it time and see what it does. Again, more camellias in the background. We have just camellias kind of lining it. They're really hard to see, I'm sure, but they'll get bigger. That's a Bihou there, straight ahead. And this is the Mikawa Yatsubusa. I'm not sure if it's Yatsubusa or Yatsubusa. Anyway, Mikawa. This one was, again, it had a leader. Here, I can show you. It's got really nice form. I don't know if I'm going to even be able to find it anymore. But in here, it used to have a leader, and I'm sure it was about double the height. But once the leaves come on, it's really hard to find it. So, oh well. And then this is a Bihou. So the Bihou, again, this is what Bihous do. Up top, we have a fair amount of new growth, probably 6 inches or so. Not a ton, but decent amount right now. Last summer, it grew probably 1 or 2 feet in these upward directions. But if we start going down, you'll see it has pretty significant dieback. The yellow coloration is mostly on the new growth, so this is to be expected. But we have, you know, just a little bit of this. We had pretty bad aphids this year, so this could have been what caused this as well. But it's just had a little bit of dieback. It also could just be planting it this past year, and maybe the roots couldn't support it. But this whole branch is probably going to go. But anyway, keep it on moving. This is another failed graft. This one, I was just taking it out from a higher humidity. I wanted to see what would happen if I put it, let's see if I can focus on it. If I took it from a high humidity to just our Georgia humidity, which has been a little bit lower lately. We still are not into summer yet. And this is what happened. The leaves are a little bit crispy. Some leaves are fine. Okay, going back. Okay, back to this Scolopendrifolium. Seedlings, some are going on the left, all that sort of fun stuff. Here's where we're keeping a lot of our hostas right now. We put this here because it's not right at the edge of our property, so hopefully the deer will leave them alone. So far, it's worked pretty well. We're also growing some seeds in here. So here's some seeds, Japanese maple growing. Let me see. These are from Sila. She gave us those. These were from our own thing, just solid green. Gonna keep on going. And it's being nice and letting me record that. You can see her over there moving stuff into the house. This is Benny Shigatsetsu Sawa. I think that's how you say it. If I can focus on it, there it goes. Benny Shigatsetsu Sawa. I think that's right. I might be wrong. But this is what it looks like here. So I'll come up to the leaf because it's a reticulated leaf. Let me see here. I'll try to focus. There it goes. It's got a reticulated leaf. Here, I'll put my hand next to it just for size comparison. Not giant leaves right now. It's just only recently started to leaf out. This growth, let me go wider again. This branch here, which there's my hand, and there's the branch, was last year's growth. So it's 3, maybe 4 feet all the way up. It really pushed out, and it was even longer than this, and we actually took the last foot or so to make grafts out of. We're gonna see if those are still trying to take, which are inside right now. If I try to go underneath it, that's what it looks like from underneath. We actually have one branch here on this one that is reverting, or has reverted. We only got this tree a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3. It hasn't grown much while we had it, but we had it in pretty unideal situations. We didn't actually plant it at the other property. We kept it in a pot. It got attacked by beetles, by boring beetles, and we had to take care of those. So I'm just happy it's alive. But anyway, this area right here I'll zoom out. That little branch right there is different looking completely. So we're probably gonna just air layer it off right about here. We'll be air layering that off most likely this year, so that it just has more of a cohesive look. And then this one also looks like it's gonna be losing a branch right now, because you can see right here, growth coming out at the base of the branch, and the rest of the branch has no growth at all. That's okay, like I was saying, I'm happy that it's just alive. While I'm over here, this is a seedling here. It's just having, it's just a really neat looking thing. It's starting to weep and look different, so we're trying to see what it'll do. A whole bunch of hostas. If you want to know what any of these are, let me know. One of our favorite is probably this one here. That's an orange marmalade, I think. This one could be, it could also be a Paul's Glory. They look really similar. This is a ghost fern. It's a cross, I think, between an autumn fern and a Japanese painted fern, but it could be its own thing. Anyway, it looks like a cross between them, and it's really pretty. Japanese painted ferns are these guys back here. These are autumn ferns. For us in Georgia, the autumn ferns pretty much never go into dormancy. They stay leafed out all year, and then they just kind of push more during the spring. More Japanese painted ferns. These are baby hellebores. These are hellebores, and these are hellebores here. The hellebores, these are the first to, they're known for having flowers early. Oh, and this is a little honey hydrangea. Its flowers are not very impressive, but its leaves are as yellow as a Jordan, if not more yellow. And that's just another seedling. Let's see. Okay, I'll walk back towards the house for a minute so you can kind of see what it looks like right now, so we can give you a more overview. Sorry for the video. Hope you're skipping around. All right. So if we start to the left, and if we can focus, there are the, right over there, butterflies. That's as you drive up. So you have the ginkgos, then the Twombly's red, then the Skeeter's brooms, a pixie, butterflies, and seedlings. This one here is the Geisha Gone Wild, summer gold, whole bunch of seedlings. And then, which one was this one? Hubb's red willow, Scolopendrifolium, Mikawa. We're not sure if Mikawa's going to stay there or not. That one's, we just had to move it. It was in the more sun otherwise. And we're planning on eventually maybe building an addition. We'd love for it to be out front. So we're just not sure about that. Anyway, next to it is a Bihou that should eventually get large. Benichigatsu Sawa. There is an RM back there. I'll show you that in a second. It is, I think we planted a dead stick. All right, we'll keep on going. That there is a coral pink. We'll go up to them in a second. Amber ghost. Behind it is a purple ghost. Jordan, another one of the little honey hydrangeas. Back, we can't see it, is a summer gold. That is a Jordan, summer gold. Back between, that's Meigetsu. Let's see here. I'll try to zoom in more so you can see. Very odd finger sticking out. There should be a, so there's a little pine coming there. That's Gimborne's ideal. Behind it is a pixie. We have a lot of pixies. We got them on a deal. That first pixie back there, that's our original pixie. Jermaine's Gyration, I gotta show you that one, that's really fun. Ruben is coming out. It was one of the first to leaf out, so now it's starting to go green. Seiryu is back behind it. Another Gimborne's ideal is back there too. A Psuedolarix back there. That's the pine looking thing. We'll get to that. Let's see, gonna zoom out again. More things, we'll get to them. But anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go on this path here and then come up around. We got all this mulch because we had a whole bunch of trees that we cut down, and we had a few cut down for us because they were really, really large tulip poplars, which are the size, I'll go really wide, of those. Those are, a lot of those are tulip poplars up there, and they are significantly tall, like really, really tall. Anyway, so we had those taken out. So because we had those taken out, we had the stump ground later this past year. Really great price, and they left so much mulch. It was an insane amount. So we ended up spreading it out and making paths. So anyway, we're gonna go up this way and up around that way. I might come back down here just to show you these for a second, and then we'll go back up and around. Again, hope you're skipping around on this. This is gonna be a lot, but hey, somebody might like it. So this is Amber Ghost. This is one of our favorites. So we put this in a prime spot. If I go to half, here's my, I'm on ultra wide right now. And we put a Jordan next to the amber ghost and the purple ghost back behind that you should be able to just barely see through all of it. Here, if you haven't seen amber ghost's leaves, so these are the first leaves to leaf out. I want to see if I can focus. There it goes. So they're going to be a little bit green right now. And let's see if my eyes can pick up. Here we go. Here's their leafing out color, which is a little bit more red. Very reticulated. Where we have it here may not be as much sun as it actually wants. But we found, when we first purchased this, we got this tree for $35. It was probably 4 or 5 feet tall. Now it's, let me see if I stand next to it. It's about 6 feet tall now. So we got it for $35 from Twin Branch Nursery in Georgia. And it has done so well. We've had it, when we first planted it, we had it in a whole lot of shade. And all that happened in a whole lot of shade was this sort of thing, where it turned this kind of lighter green color rather than going to a red during the summer. But we are okay with that. This area here should get about 4 hours of direct sun and then filtered sun throughout the day, so it might be perfect. We're just have to see how it does throughout the year. Jordan stays bright no matter where you put it. The more sun, the better, but it should be pretty happy. The line of sun goes almost straight through this tree as far as the shade from above, from the larger trees above. It goes straight through there and up that way. So you're going to see where you have more sun-tolerant trees to the right and less sun-tolerant to the left. But I think most of our trees are going to be considered sun-tolerant because we're in Georgia. So we tend to try to go with ones that are very heat-tolerant, which happen to be also sun-tolerant. The only exception to that is the Geisha Gone Wild. Again, it works for other people in other zones. For us, I'll show you another one we have up the hill too. It's much smaller though. Let's see here. So that's Amber Ghost. This is Purple Ghost. So this was a new one. We got it at a clearance from Pikes last year sometime. It was, I don't want to say $15 or something. It was really burnt. They really didn't do great on it. But here's the leaves. If you see a little yellow on it, that is pollen because we have tons of pollen in Georgia. But it is a reticulated, very purple leaf coming out. Very purple. We've seen at, what is it, Garden Design Nursery, he has one, Dave has one, that's a little bit bigger than this, a little bit wider, that he has in full sun, and it seems to do just fine, if not a little bit crispy. Just to show the growth as well, this is, you're not seeing much here yet, maybe 3 inches. Here's another one here. That's probably about 3 inches of growth. Maybe this here, let me see here. Just because this is what interests me, so I'm gonna make sure to point it out. So there's probably 8 inches of growth there, or so, roughly. We've been doing too many renovations where I can kind of eye what it is. All right, so this here, that in the background is a, that's a seedling leaning against a tree that keeps on trying to fall over. So I put it over here so that it would stop falling over for now. I'll probably stake it in a little bit. This is our Arium, which I'm pretty sure is just a stick that's dead. It's starting to look like it might be pushing out. I don't even know if I can make it focus, but it might be pushing out a bud there. That could be new growth right there, but I am not sure. The whole tree looks really dead. It did pretty well. We had it in shade last year. I was getting water every other day. I don't know what would have caused this. We also have spurge here, like that. That was dead, and it came back to life. So this is all spurge. This was here before. We are going to be working on getting rid of that. Let's see here. Going back to this. Here's a coral pink. This is one of our first to leaf out this year. I don't think it usually is. This came from Jeff Rudel. Thank you, Jeff. This is a really neat one. It's kind of like little clouds everywhere. I don't know if this is how he pruned it or if this is how it grows. It grows very little from our experience. Like, here, let me show you the new growth, if I can show it to you. Let me try to put my hand there. That's it. That's the new growth right there. That is it. Maybe an inch or so, inch or two. At least for us, like, It's really not much growth at all, but that's okay. It's very, very pretty. So we put this as in a prime, really, really prime spot that when you see it here, when you drive up, you can clearly see it straight down the middle. It's really neat. In the background there, I'm stepping on a thorn right now. Okay. In the background there is a orange flame. This is another $35 purchase from Twin Branch Nursery. Let me see here if I can go back to this. And I'll try to walk up to it here without falling. There's a lot of tripping hazards. Here's a tree we did not cut down. I think I cut it up later, but it obviously wasn't me that pulled that down. So orange flame is known for growth. We don't particularly, the shape of it, we do have some aphids. Here's probably one right here. That's probably an aphid right there. I'm not sure. It could just be a flower. Anyway, we do have aphids right now. It's just we're in the woods, so we have aphids. Orange flame is known for growth. So it's probably got about 8 inches there, but it's got that same growth in every direction. It's going to be a pretty large tree, and it's only recently leafed out. It was a late one to leaf out. It does have some seeds there though, so it must have been at least a week or two. Anyway, given the idea. Again, a couple dead branches here, right here. Like well, it just has no growth on it right now. It's actually feels fine, but doesn't look it. All right, I'll go back to the path. Before I go back to the path, to our left here, we also have another Sango Kaku air layer. This one is just a smaller air layer. I think I took a small little branch and made this. Its new growth last year is this right here, and that's probably 3 feet or so, and it did this new growth, and that new growth, and this was a relatively new air layer. Like, it just is taken off, so we're gonna let it. We want that to block everything. I'm seeing vines already trying to catch onto it down there. We're gonna have a little fight with the vines for a while. Oh, and this is a Seiryu here. So we have, let me go back to the path. Here's our coral pink. Here's all our things. Sorry for my steps as I try not to get hit by thorns. This is Orodono Nishiki. So there was our coral pink. This one next to it is Orodono Nishiki. Apparently I reached the limit of recording. Or maybe I got a text there and it interrupted it. Anyway, so this is Orodono Nishiki. Ours doesn't do much as far as variegation. It seems to be really happy where it is this year. I mean, this is more growth than I've seen on it in a very long time, about 8 inches or so. It is in the ground. We're mounding up with the trunks from what we cut down. We figured that's fine. It does have a dead branch down the bottom right, but overall, it does pretty well. We got this about this size. It hasn't grown much since we've gotten it. It also was attacked by beetles. We kind of put it in the same spot in the woods before we knew what was going on. So we were able to keep it alive. So that's pretty good. Again, if it's alive, I'm happy. However, all that stress, like the stress of moving it, the stress of doing everything they say that bringing it stress makes it have more variegation, at least for ours, that is not the case. In fact, I'll look for a variegated leaf right now. Aha, here's one. Here is your variegated leaf. That is it. There's another one over here. It probably was just taken from one that didn't show very much variegation, the graft. Anyway, it does have a neat trunk though. Let me go back this way. Okay, keeping on going. So in the background again, we have a Seiryu. It's gonna be really hard to see. Hopefully it'll get bigger. This is an Acontofolium, which I think is also dancing peacock. Somebody can correct me here. Either way, it's really neat. The leaves on this one aren't huge yet, but it's still a pretty small tree. It's only a 3 foot tall tree or so. We got it from Mr. Maple, and it came, I mean, we got it pretty small. We probably should have maybe not bought that one, but that's okay. We have it. We were excited about it, that it's living. We had it at the other property, and it did literally nothing for years because we had it in too much shade. Once we moved it to more sun, it really seems to be much happier. Though this spot here, again, has shade directly overhead. It's just really, really, really high shade. So hopefully that'll be okay. I'm saying hopefully to everything because we just planted it. This is our little summer gold. I think this one was from online order or something, but it's little itty bitty. It's working on it. It's doing pretty well. Let's see. All right, so again, going back towards the front for a second. We'll go back the other way in a second too. This is one of our favorite summer golds that's doing really, really well. This is from a grower we know, or a guy we know named Roger Bell. He's kind of retired now, I guess, but we really have enjoyed a lot of the trees we've gotten from him. And this is the summer gold that has done the best for us by far. It's not finished leafing out yet, but it tends to be very, very full once it finishes leafing out. And again, just as all our summer golds do, it has a lot of flowers during this time. And whenever you see things stuck together like that, there's a good chance there are aphids under there. Anyway, keep it on moving. This is another Jordan. I don't even remember. I think that was from Roger Bell. It's really nice. It's probably, I don't know, 7-8 feet tall. It's not super full yet. It's still a relatively young tree. At least compared to some of the others. And it's still leafing out right now. And here's how you know when you have aphids. Let me see if I can get to them. When you see ants on patrol, let me see if I can find them. Where did they go? There's one. When you see an ant on patrol, it's most likely there to protect the aphids. So if you start looking around, you'll start finding them. And I see a few ants on the air, so this probably does have some aphids. Here we go. Just in case anybody ever wondered what it looks like. So here are the ants, and they're taking care of the aphids. They'll keep any predator, like I found out before. If I just touch down here, maybe not these. I've done that before. Yep, see, he's going to check it out. They're there to protect the aphids. So if a ladybug was to come here, they would bite them. I mean, these are not really, these are just black ants. But they'll bite them, anything trying to get the aphids and get rid of them. So all I do is flick it a couple times. That gets rid of all of them. The ants just drop because they don't want to die. And then I just crush a few of these things. I might hurt the leaves a little, but I think the aphids will hurt them more. And there you go. That's it. You can use neem oil, a few other things to get rid of them permanently. With the amount of trees that we have out here now, and the fact that these are still growing just fine, I'm not too concerned at this point. If I see a really big infestation, like if they were on every single leaf, then I'd be really concerned, but I don't see any other than right at that leaf. And again, just use the ants to figure out where they are. If you see ants all over your tree, then there's a good chance that you might have aphids everywhere. Keep it on going. Okay, so this is Meigetsu here. I don't know how to spell that. M-I-E-G-E-T-S-U, I think. Anyway, Meigetsu. Meigetsu does have big leaves, relatively large leaves. We have two. One is lighter and one is darker. One came from Roger Bell and another one came from, oh, I forget. I think it came from the Twin Branch Nursery. We tend to go to Twin Branch a lot because we can get trees there for $25 to $35, which is a really good price in our area. Meigetsu tends to have very big leaves. The growth rate doesn't seem to be huge. Here's the new growth this year. So it's about that big. Maybe that's maybe 6 inches, maybe a little bit shy of that. We also had a little bit of damage earlier. It'll be more apparent on the other one. But we have little pieces like this where somebody has bitten it off. It's going to be more apparent on the other one, and I'll show that. Seedlings again. These guys aren't doing much. We kept this one just because it had little fun things. I say kept because we traded out a lot of our named cultivars at the other house for seedlings so that we could bring them over with us. We figured the next owner really wouldn't care, but we didn't want to make it look bare or make like it was missing stuff. So we did that before we listed the house. This is another seedling. This one looks like a sheer swarnum kind of seedling, which is kind of neat because we don't have that many of these. So, and he's kind of doing this leaning structure here. This is also just poorly planted. He needed more dirt. But we are flat out, and it is COVID-19 going on. So we can't go to the Home Depot to get any. At least we're not going to. Another Pixie here. So this Pixie, interesting thing with the Pixies right now, all of ours are doing this. They're doing little poofs at a time. Just little poofs like that. It's kind of neat. So this just started to leaf out. It's probably one of the last to leaf out. And this one's really small. This was another pike. They nearly killed at one, which is fine. Pike Nursery is a nursery in the southern area, I guess, the Atlanta area. Let me see here. There we go. Keep it on going. It looks like my phone has stopped paying attention to me. Okay, so this is Seedling from Mr. Maple. I think he sold it to us pretty inexpensively. And it was not quite this size. It's probably about half the size. And as all seedlings do, it likes to grow, which is great. We have it in the background. It's just a background tree, and hopefully it'll become big and block a chain link fence back there. We also planted a magnolia in the no man's land. Don't tell them. It's back there. That's an air layer we took off of our larger magnolia. Let me see here. I'll turn around slowly. This magnolia right there. So right now we have 2 air layers set up at the bottom. You can kind of see them from here. I don't know that those will take, but one did, and so we planted it between us and the back neighbors. It's actually in the... going. Let's see. Sorry, this is taking so long, but I've been wanting to do it for myself, so it's fine. I need to go and help Anna put stuff away, though. This is another Meigetsu. This one is similar. I don't know which one came from which. I think this is the one that came from Twin Branch. I'm not sure, though. One of them tended to have a slightly lighter colored leaf than the other. But overall looks pretty good, other than all of the bites taken out of it. I don't know if this was a deer or if this was a bug that was on a rampage. I don't know. We don't really usually have many deer here. It could have been a deer that decided to just take a taste on it and see if it liked it. Both of the Meigetsus have this damage. So I'm guessing they were some of the first to leaf out, and they have really big leaves, so I'm guessing that would be tempting to, I don't know, to a deer. Let's see here. This is our oldest Pixie right here. It's doing the same thing again with the poofs leafing out and little poofs. The Pixie is a pretty neat cultivar for us. In Georgia, at least for us, in about 6 hours of sun at least, it tends to just push out all year. Some years we've had 2 or 3 feet of growth. Usually what this Pixie tends to do, and it could just be this particular tree, it tends to choose a direction and then it just goes with it. So it'll push one branch one year and push a different branch another year. That's just the growth habit we have noticed with it. Right now we're just letting it do its own thing. It's a really low branching out structure on this tree, but we have seen one of these in the fall where it actually did well, and it is a fantastic red in the fall. Just really fantastic. So let me see here, I'll keep on going. Oh, the white on there is just from a bird, just FYI. All right, so we're going back on the path. Here is another Bihou. This Bihou has a direct look over from the house. So if we build an addition somewhere around there, don't know if we'll do it, gotta wait for permits. Right now they're not issuing permits. If we can do it over there near the house, you'll have a straight shot up to this Bihou. In the background here are a whole bunch of Sugis, Cryptomeria. They are Yoshino, so they should get really, really large. This Bihou is probably too close to them, but we're just gonna rely on pruning or air layering and try to see what we can do. We can always move the Bihou if we have to. This is a Germain's gyration there. I'll come back to it because I really want to show more. I'll probably come to it last. Ruben, we'll get to that too. This is a Gimborne's Ideal. This one was not looking so good, which is why we made sure to get it into the ground. There's another one over here that I kind of skipped that looks a lot healthier. Seiryu, this is one of our series from Roger Bell. We have 2, or I guess 3 with the little one. These came about this size. They're a little bit, maybe a little bit taller than they were when we got it. It's probably, I don't know, 10 to 12 feet tall. I mean, it's fairly tall tree. I can go underneath it if you want, and I can show what it kind of looks like. So I'll go completely underneath it here and kind of look up, just to kind of show the structure of this one. The idea of putting one here was that it would be reaching towards an addition we did, or a backyard, that it would reach towards a more kind of an area we could lounge. So it'll be really nice. This area here does get full sun. Depending on where you are, how high up this hill you go. If you're towards the bottom of the hill, it gets about 6 hours of sun. Where that Ruben is more like 6 hours. Where the Seiryu is more like 7 or 8. And where the Psuedolarix is more like 9 or 10. And where these Yoshinos are, it's about 9 or 10. Look at that, it's a little Shishigashira. This guy is itty bitty. We got this from Twin Branch recently. I think we got it last year. I've heard these do a lot of growth. So far it's not doing much, but we'll just give it time and see what it does. It's leafed out for a little while here. And while it does look super neat, I'm hoping that it starts to grow soon. I'll have to give it a little while. It'll probably grow. Let's see here. Here is Psuedolarix. So this Psuedolarix is probably at least 15 feet tall now, maybe more. We got it when it was about 9 feet tall. It fit into a minivan. We rented a minivan to go pick it up. And now there is no way it'd fit in a minivan. It would stick out, I mean, a good 10 feet out of a minivan. Maybe, yeah, about 10 feet. So it usually leaves out from bottom to top. So you'll see towards the top it looks a little bare, and then towards the bottom it looks pretty full. Let's go over to it. So the Psuedolarix is a false larch. We are not able to grow larches in Georgia, I think, to the heat or the humidity, or a combination. Probably the humidity. So the Psuedolarix, though, is not a larch. It's a false larch, and it likes hot, humid environments. Let me see here. It stopped recording. I'll try to see if I can splice it together. Okay, so this is the Psuedolarix. We were just talking about it. So it's false larch. It likes hot, humid climates and has done extraordinarily well. It also likes clay soil, so it is really, really perfect for us. It's this really nice, bright green color right now. It stays a kind of light green. It goes to more of a blue-green during the summer, and then it goes to a bright yellow during the fall. It is spectacular for all of 1 week, probably even 4 days to a week. Like, it's really, really neat. And then it goes to more of a rusty gold color. If you ever played Diablo, this would be called unique color. It's literally the same color they use. Anyway, and then it drops all its leaves, all in about 4 days to a week. It really happens fast. We really enjoy it, and it gets to be huge. I mean, it gets to be huge. So if you ever think about getting one, just know that this is not a dwarf variety. It gets huge. We're talking the size of an oak tree. And I consider an oak tree huge. It just gets there faster, I think, than an oak tree will. Another Pixie. Again, the Pixie doing little clumps of growth. It will fill out. It just likes pushing out little bits at a time. You know, so here's a new growth. Let's see. Okay, we're going to be finishing up soon, because now we're going to start getting repeats. This is another Jordan. It's also kind of young. It's maybe 5 feet tall, maybe 6, somewhere around there. Another purple ghost. Over to our left in the sun is an Acontofolium. This is a much larger Acontofolium than the other one we have. The new growth is right here, for an example, if I can bring it into focus. And that's probably, again, about 8 inches of growth or so right now. This one here, a little bit better growth here, is probably about a foot. I've heard that these can grow pretty quickly, and I see a few spots where it may be growing even more than a foot. Another purple ghost. This one was also $35. This one now is about, it's taller than me. I'm gonna say it's at least 6 feet. I'm not that tall, so don't worry, guys. So this is another purple ghost. This one leafed out before the other one, so it's a little bit farther along. But anyway, so that's a purple ghost, and we thought that it'd be fun to have a purple ghost in contrast with the Jordans, trying to have bright versus the purple and dark. And right here where I am, it gets about 5 hours of sun is what we estimate it'll have. Before we had trees here though that we've removed, so it may get more than that. We'll just have to see. There's no good way to tell. This is our autumn moon that we were sure was dead. I mean, I don't know if you can tell. It looks like just a dead stick. But at the very bottom, let me see if I can focus on it. Very, very, very bottom, it's starting to show growth. I'm sure that's plumb out of focus, but it's starting to show growth. It has lived. I was pretty sure it was dead. I was pretty sure that we were planting a stick, but it seems to be pushing out all over the tree now. This is another little summer gold. It's still growing, again like the other one. So this was last year's growth. If I can guess where it was, I think it was roughly this amount here. So that's about 2 feet of growth last year. That was surprising. We didn't expect that. It was in about 7 hours of sun, and a lot of the trees struggled with that, being in grow bags. This one didn't. A lot of the summer golds seem to do fine. We just have deodars here. So these are a bunch of deodars in the background. We also put one sugi back there. We'll see how they do. Again, it's only 5 hours of sun here, so that may not be enough for them, but it's on the borderline, so we thought we'd go for it. We need some sort of screening, and camellias take too long to grow, and magnolias are too aggressive. Okay, so this is another Geisha Gone Wild. This one is actually growing better than the other one. But here, well, I guess I'll keep it horizontal, but here, let me show you if I can make it focus. So this is the new growth right here. So far, ours is about 4 to 5 inches right now. Probably I'd say more like 4. So it's just starting to, again, this one isn't as pink either as it's been in previous years. It could have to do with us planting it this past February, not sure. But yeah, so this one's maybe 4 feet tall at the moment. We'll see if it grows more, and it never really gets full. At least ours doesn't. Like, it hasn't ever gotten to be full. You can almost miss it if you're not looking for it. Let's see. Oh, this is our Sango Kaku grove. So this is the parent Sango Kaku of all the other air layers. The one on the right actually came from a different Sango Kaku we left at the other property, but everything else has come from this big Sango Kaku in the middle. So I'll back up so I can show you. So right now I'm on super ultra wide lens. It's probably closer to 14 feet tall now. It's super, super tall. The idea here was to use these, have a little sitting area here, and to be able to block the neighbors a little bit. So all these should grow to be huge. This one, obviously, the middle one obviously has a head start, but they're all doing really, really, really well. They're still leafing out right now. This Sango Kaku, so I found out, little tip, if you're doing air layers of a Sango Kaku, which may not even work in other climates, but if you air layer off an older branch that is no longer that red, it stays no longer that red. The whole tree is getting older, so only the new growth is going to be super red. This one is a little bit more red. The tree itself is just a little bit more red than this one. And these came from a wonderful buy at Costco years ago. So if it's actually Sango Kaku, I don't really know. I know that it's very similar to it. It was labeled as that from the nursery they got it from. So I'm likely it's always demonstrated all the same features. So I think it is a Sango Kaku. If not, we'll just call it a coral bark. It's another seedling. It's not doing much other than being a seedling. These are more just, so here where you have more sun again, now where I am, let me see if I can zoom out and show you. So Sango Kaku's over there, and it's beneath these pine trees. Sorry, I'm probably panning too quickly. These sugi over here are underneath far less. There's still some above them, but it's not as much. So they should get enough sun to be happy. I've heard they're somewhat shade tolerant. I don't know about that, but we'll see. This is a fun little seedling here that just wants to be huge. Its new growth this year is right there. That's so far. And it's only just leafed out. It is going bananas, and it's still in a pot too. Down this way, we just have a whole bunch more of sugis and deodars. So they just keep on going. Let's see, on this side, we have the biggest one that you're seeing here is that's another Seiryu. Again, this one is probably 10 feet tall, maybe equally as wide, maybe a little bit wider, 12 feet wide. This is another Skeeter's Broom. It's only just started to leaf out, so we can go see new color leaves, just for the fun of it. So this is just starting to leaf out. And this is a Miss Grace. Miss Grace, I've heard, is very finicky. I'm happy that it just has lived. We had to keep it in a grow bag last year. Kept it watered very frequently with a lot of water. If everybody else, I think we were watering it every 2 days with the Japanese maples at one point, but it had 3 or 4 little bubblers to it, whereas everything else had 1. And it has actually growing some, which is exciting. I didn't think it would, so that's nice to see. That's about it. I'm gonna keep on walking. We have a little ginkgo there that came from Mr. Maple a few years ago. It's a sunbeam, sunburst, sun something. It's variegated. Sorry, we're in the middle of renovations here, so don't mind our mess. Let's see here. I think it's sunbeam. Oh, I am wrong. It is sunstream, Japanese maple. No, ginkgo. Anyway, this variegation will show up a lot more as it leaves out more. The newer leaves, when it first leaves out, it doesn't show any of this variegation. Little garden we have going with a trip. So this is all the tubing I was using last year for Japanese maples. So I have just used it, commandeered it for a garden. We had this fence here. This came with the house. We were planning on ripping it out, but we decided to use it and water things with it and keep the rabbits out. I don't think we really have any, but I know I've seen them around, so I guess we do have some. All right, I'm gonna go over there. Let's see, the phone has stopped responding to me again. This is probably too much for it. Okay, so last bit I'm starting over because the camera stopped responding to me there. These are the 2 I wanted to show you as well. So here's Ruben. Oh, here are air layers on the magnolias. These are probably too large. I don't know if those will take. A couple of those already did. Somebody hit this when we were getting trees cut down. One of the guys hit it really well with his, whatever he had, bobcat. We're already planning on cutting it down though. So I'm just literally only letting it grow right now, just to try to give those air layers a little bit longer to see if they'll take. So far the tree is not strangled, so maybe it'll work. See here, here's our Ruben. The Ruben has gone over to more of a green color. It leaves out very salmon color. Now it's very, very green. And grows pretty well. Usually each year it pushes out about a foot or 2 of growth, but it grows very laterally. We got these from Mr. Maple years ago. We left 3 or 2 at the other property and took just this one. We have seller's remorse and probably should have kept the others, but that's okay. We just didn't know how neat it was. In the shade, it stays about this color once it has leafed out, maybe a little bit darker even. But we found last year we had it in 7 hours of sun because that's where all of our Japanese maples were. Didn't mean for it to be in that much sun, but that's how much it was there. So it turned a very nice kind of yellow green when it was in that much sun. It was a really neat look. So we're hoping that this spot here, which should get about 6 to 7 hours of sun, hopefully I can replicate that same look. And this is probably the last one on everything. It's the Germain's gyration here. It is pretty neat. So this is another one from Mr. Maple years ago. Got this one for $65 back maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe not even that long ago. Anyway, $65, and it was in a 7-gallon pot, I think, maybe 5-gallon. It was about half the height, and it was just starting to push out all these extra branches. So once it gets established, it really likes to grow. Last year when we moved it, it didn't love that, and it had some major issues. But now this year, so we just planted it, and you're seeing, I mean, we're seeing 8 inches of growth here, probably another 8 here, 8 or 9 here, maybe a foot here. Like, it is growing really, really, really well. Here, I'll back up so you can kind of see what this one looks like. So, and the way that, I think it was Matt that we were talking to said is Germain's Duration is kind of like a viridis or a waterfall, but it just likes to grow. You'll have according to him, you'll have a 200-year-old tree, in something like 20 years, like looking wise, it'll look like it's a much, much older tree than it really is, just because of its rapid growth rate. It also tends to do this undulation and all this sort of curves. It does that on its own. We have not shaped this at all. It did have this little bend in there. That's how it came, that little bend back in there. It did have that one, and we bought it. So I don't know if they adjusted anything there. They could have, but it tends to just do this. Like this whole growth here, where it comes in, out, twists around this way, and then it's coming forward. That has been since we've owned it, and it also shifts out here to the left and then swings to the right. It just kind of does these things on its own. There's no pruning really that we have done to it at all, other than just getting rid of dead branches. And you can see at the top, it's starting to push a little bit of new growth upward right now as well, which is exciting. So that means it gets to be a little taller. Anyway, okay, this has been a really long video, and I'm probably long overdue to go help Anna put stuff back in the garage. Hope this has been good.